it is another day on this program, Guest of the Week. And today, I'm going to feature someone who really stands as a mentor. He is so many things really put together as one, an actor, a producer, a director. But before you meet my guest for today, let me take you through his educational background. For my guest, he attended St. Peter's Primary School, now called Hillside Primary School in Coal Camp, here in Enugu. And this was for him to obtain his first school leaving certificate. From there he attended Oruku Grammar School, Oruku in Anambra State, for his secondary education. He then proceeded to the University of Port Harcourt, Rivers State, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree in Theatre Arts. He later bagged a master's degree in political science with specialization in international relations from the University of Lagos, Lagos State. Who is my guest? In a short while, you'll be meeting with him. Don't touch the dial. Welcome back. It is time to meet my guest. Please join me as I welcome Bob Manuel Udoku. If you look after Asiada, it's really a pleasure.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here on NTA Channel 8, Enugu.
And this is where you started from.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. How does it feel coming back home?
Oh, it brings back a lot of nostalgia. You know, I more or less started my acting career as an amateur here. You know, when I left secondary school, I was looking for admission to further my studies. And one day, or rather one evening, and I was alone watching a drama production on NTA Enugu here back then. I mean, like going back a little bit, I was born in Coal Camp. I grew up in Coal Camp, like you read there. And so I'm a Mwakam.
Yes.
And I was watching this program. Then this NTA Enugu used to have a 1-hour drama program once a week. It was called TV Playhouse. And I was watching the program, drama presentation there, and I saw that the people performing were mostly students of IMT. And then by the time the presentation finished, something nudged me to probably go to NTA and find out if I can get involved. So I quickly looked around and found a pen. As I looked up on this TV screen, I saw the name of the producer going up, and I quickly wrote it down. What's the name? Rose Ofieli. Now Mrs. Rose Wanna.
Wow.
This was more than 30 years ago. And so the following day I came here. Let me cut a long story short. Eventually I found her and told her I watched her presentation, her drama production the previous night, and that I will be delighted if she can put me in the subsequent one. So she saw my boldness and immediately said, okay, I have another recording tomorrow. Why don't you, she gave me an idea of the costume I have to bring. But even at that time, I had a choice. I told her, if you are going to record tomorrow and I wasn't part of the rehearsals, then maybe I shouldn't be part of it because you're not going to give me a good role. She now said, no, I am the producer. I asked you to bring costume and come. I'll give you a speaking role. The following day I came, and then we went on location, and she gave me a speaking role, and that's how I started. And
that was
performing.
Your first appearance on stage for you?
No, not first. I've been doing this thing. I've been doing. Actually, I started doing radio when I was in primary school. You know, I started performing on stage when I was in primary school. In fact, first time I appeared on stage was in primary 2.
Wow.
By primary 4, I had done a full-length play where I was the king. By primary 6, the school was now putting me in school radio programs, you know, debates and all that. So at a very early stage, I became used to the ambience of radio and television, you know, and it didn't really occur to me that I was going to eventually be an actor, you know. But so coming to NTA now, NTA Enugu, years and years and years later, I mean, I look at this place, I'm like, oh my God, this is where it started.
That's really, really good to know.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at, you know, your acting really in life. how did it begin for you, the major roles? How did it really start? What was the spark for you going into Nollywood now, the movie industry?
I didn't go into Nollywood. I keep saying that Nollywood had to stop me and join me.
Really?
And I'll explain. Nollywood essentially started in 1992 after Living in Bondage was released.
Good, and that was in 1992.
I just said it, 92.
Okay.
By then, I was already doing Checkmate. Checkmate was the biggest and till date, the best drama presentation, soap opera, anywhere in Nigerian
That was
television.
80 something.
It ran from 1991 to 95, 4 years. So I was already doing Checkmate when I was invited by Kenneth Nebwe, the owner of Living in Bondage, to be part of it. Essentially because he saw me and late Francis Ago in Checkmate, and he was wondering, okay, these guys have Igbo names, but can they speak Igbo? So somebody came to tell me and Francis about it, and I said, well, if he invites us, we'll come. He actually wrote me and Francis. The man was a professional. He wrote me and Francis, inviting us to his office in Surulere. We got there, we discussed with him, he made us offer, and I was excited because I just finished my youth service in 91, 92, you know. So this was coming immediately after my youth service, and I was already big in Checkmate, and this was to be in Igbo. Hi, Wesimban,
They were happy,
you know, so, and the rest is history, like they said. Nollywood started from there. So I didn't join Nollywood. Nollywood stopped me to join me. You know, so if you ask how it started in Enugu. Eventually, I got into University of Port Harcourt to study theatre arts, at least to be professionally trained.
For it.
You know, mind you, before I went to, about the time I was coming here as an amateur, I was also doing a radio presentation in FRC in Enugu here. I was a guest presenter
in radio.
FRC in Enugu here.
Wow.
You know, I was presenting a show called, it's a musical studio audience musical program called Guest the Tune. So you play a record for just a little while and you stop it. You ask the studio audience to guess the artist, the title of the record, the title of the song, the album when it was released and all that, you know, live studio audience, you know, and all these prepared me for the journey professionally into entertainment, you know. So that's how it started, you know, noticing that you have that talent when you were young, pursuing it, even though my parents at some point they didn't like it.
I was really to ask you,
especially my father.
At that point, some parents would say it's a no-no.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you know,
Onyibo.
It's not like now.
Onyibo. You know, we opened the doors now for the younger ones, but
yes.
My time it was very difficult. It was difficult, but at some point I think I stood my ground, and my conviction were that I just have to do this. There's something inside me, you know, that
told you can
that needed to come out. You know, that's what the world has seen now, but they ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh, more is still yet to come. I like that. Now, you are not just an actor, you are a director, you're also a producer.
That's right.
Now, let's really look at those areas, you being a producer. What are those major movies you think really you'd say, sitting down here, yes, this one really will strike me as something really very, very beautiful that I have done?
There are lots of productions we have done. Yes. Even on my own, I have produced and directed and even acted in 2 of my movies. You know, way back. You know, Wedding Bells and Matters of the Heart. I also consult for productions. You know, in terms of scripting, production lines, and all that. Generally for production. So over the years, from the time we did Living in Bondage, Nollywood has continued to improve in terms of technical quality, artistic quality. In terms of remuneration, it may not be what we expect, because because the downturn in the economy, whatever affects the society affects Nollywood. For instance, there's fuel scarcity now. Nollywood people don't have their own filling station where they buy fuel at reduced cost. Nollywood people don't have their own market or supermarket or shopping malls where they buy things at reduced price. So everything that affects society affects Nollywood people. We don't live in the moon. You know, but again,
and people feel you're better off.
Yeah, because our job is to make people happy. And what I tell people is that in Nigeria, the entertainment person, the entertainer makes people happy and he goes home sad. You know, the amount of money my colleagues as A-list actors in America will put in their breast pocket and take a few friends to a coffee shop might pay for your artist fee twice here. But the thing is, like we keep saying in the industry, the show must go on.
Yes.
You know, we can't stop. I mean, doctors won't stop prescribing drugs and giving injections because patent medicine dealers are now giving injections too. You need to have quacks to be able to appreciate professionals.
Yes.
That's what we're saying. In the industry today, there are all kinds of fly-by-night moonshiners. But Odogu Puta,
they will know that the professional is here.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's go down to specifics, your acting roles. Are there really some, maybe, directors or producers you feel comfortable working with? Or, you know, anybody really that comes and the deal is good, you go into it?
I'm a professional, so what I look out for is when a producer or executive producer hires me, he also hires the director. The thing is for us to have a common ground. The script is the foundation for the production. And being a trained person, I know the things I have to look out for and work on in my script. Same time, I know that the director also, from the pictorial concept, also has things he wants to bring out for the viewers to see. We need to synergize and be able to have a common ground. And it's also better if the script writer is also on board, because sometimes what the person has in mind in delivering a particular story or giving a particular line or word might have a very deep significance in the movie. And knowing all these things and the nuances of things that will form part of the message gives you a proper grounding as an actor who knows his job to be able to bring that subtext, which ordinarily sometimes even the writer may not even know the story, know the message, the very intrinsic message woven into the fabric of the story that he wants to pass along there. So when you work in a synergy like that, producer, director, the artist, you have a holistic picture that if you are paired with others who are professionals as well, what the story does is to converge and then blow up. And when it comes out, there's a wow effect, you know. So that's the way it works.
Okay. Now, in your acting style, there are sometimes people see you act some of these obscene scenes, you know, and one really wonders when you are offered such provision, such cast. How do you handle it that when you go back home, your wife won't flare up and say, oh, you didn't expect this part to me. How come you went into this? I'm not aware of it. Really, how do you carry yourself?
Well, the overriding factor is the message in the story, the message. But then I'm lucky that my wife was also one of my fans.
Oh.
And my wife also understands that for you to be in front of the camera playing the role of somebody else that is not you, you are trying to send a message to society to make it a better place. I am not ruling out the fact that we are human beings and certain character traits may also make your spouse uncomfortable.
Yes.
But my wife is also my critic. She's also, you know, I call her my consultant.
Wow,
in everything. So
yes.
In that regard, I'm lucky. And again, I have come to the level where directors and producers and executive producers will listen to me, my ideas. For instance, a script writer, as it occurs to him or her, may write about a very steamy, sensuous scene. You know, very steamy. When you're reading it, it's all out there.
Yes.
I don't worry, because I know that when we get on set, before we shoot that scene, I'll have a deep discussion with the producer, especially the director. And if the writer is also there,
yes,
we have a three-man discussion where everybody else won't be there. And we'll say, okay, I'm the one who's supposed to lend my body to this character to make it live. And people can identify that character through me. Now, you guys know that this is not myself. It's not my character. Nothing to do with who I am.
Yes.
But I need to give it my best to be able to convincingly play that role. Now, what we want is to convince the people that a man and woman misbehaved and probably there's pregnancy or there's marriage breakup and all that and all that. Now, what led to that is the scene we're about to discuss. Direct, you know that with your professional camera angles, you can achieve shots that would lead people's imagination to what has been done without necessarily showing raw flesh doing that. And more often than not, they know that Bob has a higher understanding of these things. Movie making is just playing on the imagination. The camera doesn't smell. Camera sees only colors. And then with the help of microphone, he hears sound. It doesn't taste. It doesn't smell. So with that in mind, the angle of your shots, the framing of your shots, side by side with what you tell your characters to do at that point in time, will tell the story for the man or the woman who is enjoying the movie at home, knows that this is where the story is going. For instance, the camera comes in close to the bed and you see underwears, shoes here, bangles here and all that. And by the time the camera climbs the bed, you see two of them are sleeping, almost naked, with some sweat, which we generate.
Yes.
For crying out loud, probably some sensuous thing have happened. You know, so that's the way I navigate through that.
Okay. Now, in the movie industry still, you started quite early for you. Who were those really who inspired you into going into the movie industry, be it starting early both for radio and television before finally, you moved into the movie industry?
You know what I was,
your mentors?
Yeah, when I was growing up, we didn't really have role models in the industry back then. There was no industry anyway. What we had was one-off American films, cowboys and Indians, and sometimes Ministry of Information will go around with their Land Rover, like you guys have that department in NTA here. It's just that area is dead now in almost all ministries, in Nigeria. So they go around and announce that there will be free film showing. Like back then in Coal Camp, they'll come to the school field. And as kids, we get excited, we go there, watch American cowboys and all that. And then TV stations will show films late in the night, especially black and white TV. And we watch Americans speaking very fast. You can hardly pick what they're saying. But incidentally, at that age, I was able to, concentrate well enough to understand the storylines of the movies they were showing. Now, talking about role models, there were none here for me. But there was one character that stood out for me.
At international level?
International level. That was Sir Sean Connery, the greatest man that played James Bond. Now, I watched him at a very impressionable age. I was about 16 or 15 then in secondary school when I came back, and then one of his James Bond series was released. I think it was Goldfinger. And I managed to smuggle myself into the cinema, Crystal Cinema in Coal Camp there, and watch it. At that young age, I was so impressed by this young, very handsome looking, dashing man that was very dapper, but then swift and deadly with the gun, and also very, 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 very at home with women. Beautiful women. So it created a very deep impression on me. How can somebody be so cool, like they say? Women love him. But when it comes to, when his life is threatened, he's licensed to kill. But even at that, I didn't know I was going to be an actor. So by the time I went professionally into University of Port Harcourt to study theater arts, his style was playing in my mind all the time, that I had to go back to watch all the James Bond films where Sean Connery starred. And even at his very old age, he died at 90-something just a couple of years ago, and is reputed to be the best ever James Bond that one had seen. So he was my role model in that regard. I watched and tried to imitate his acting style, And he has this Scottish drawl in his speech, you know. And of course, that unforgettable line,
Yes.
my name is Bond.
James Bond. Now, this brings me to my next question. Now, people perceive you as a lover boy, you know, through the years in your movies, you know. Now, tell us really, how would you describe yourself in real life? Is it really so, you know, away from the movies?
Sometimes when I say this, people don't believe me because I'm an actor.
Make us believe you now.
I'm actually, by nature, I'm actually a shy person. Yeah, you see, you're surprised.
When do you believe that?
You're
Shy?
surprised. Yeah, that's you see, that's part of what made me believe that it's not the hood that makes the monk. You know, growing up I was more like a loner, but I read a lot, even up till now. You know, sometimes I travel abroad. On my way back at the airport, I go into the duty-free shop, and what do I buy? Books. You know, so growing up, I read quite wide. You know, I could stay at home from morning till night, eat, and then go back and keep reading novels.
Wow.
You know, and so over time, one realized that one wasn't badly made by God, and instead of being termed a womanizer, I found out. I mean, I'm married and with kids. My children are early adults now. So if I can't say what I think about myself now, then I'll be deceiving myself. I found out that I am handsome. From early age, I didn't know. It's only now I'm knowing that girls like me.
Wow.
You know, and sometimes I find myself escaping them, running away from them. I didn't know it was. They were being drawn to me. You know, it took time for me to realize that it's not something wrong that I've done that make them come to me. Now, it could have translated into some of the roles I played. I can confidently say that the first romance film Nollywood did was When the Sun Set, which I played opposite Kate Henshaw. That was Kate Henshaw's first film, and in Nollywood, that's the first romance movie we did. So it's not out of place if people think that how do you put it, a womanizer?
No, a lover boy.
A lover boy. You know, yeah. I mean, one can do good roles there. You know,
Yes.
it's not bad. Don't forget that my role model, Sean Connery, that's James Bond.
Yes.
His character also has to go with beautiful women. I mean, success comes. Women also are attached to success.
You
So
see?
either way.
You're still watching Guest of the Week this beautiful day. My guest is still here. Let's go for a short break. We'll be back. Welcome back. Now, Bob Manuel Udoku, you're still in the house. I really want to move into the assessment of the movie industry through the years that you've been there. Let's talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, you know, for you, from your own point of view. Let's really look at them.
Yeah, you know, when we started, when Living in Bondage was released in 1992, it made waves.
Yes.
You know, for the first time, we realized that, you know, it was a pleasant surprise that Nigerians
Could do
love.
this.
First time Nigerians are loving what is coming from
Yeah.
home. You know, it was all over the place, and we didn't have any idea that it was going to be like that. So it was a pleasant surprise, and it gave birth to the industry we know today as Nollywood. And those early films made waves, mostly in Igbo, and then the gradual transition to English language movies, and it was still doing fine. I guess also that the economy was better. People had money to spare in order to buy these films and enjoy themselves.
Okay.
But over the years, with the economy drifting backwards, Nollywood was also affected. And what was sustaining Nollywood even till today is the private entrepreneurs, mostly of Igbo extraction, who are businessmen, and probably from their profit from business, they plow some money back
Yes.
to do movies. And that's what's been sustaining Nollywood. Now, today the challenge is these people struggle to get their initial investment, not to talk about profit for you to plow into movie making. So Nollywood is now in a state of flux. In terms of, I'm talking about finance now,
Yes, I know.
and a lot of people don't have that financial power anymore to buy films, unlike before. Before it was on VHS, cassettes. There were video clubs. People were, if you can't buy outright, you rent and all that. All that has gone through the window now. So because of the bad economy, even the cinemas that gradually were transiting to cinemas before releasing and encouraging people to go watch in the cinemas, is also when you have extra cash
That you can go to
that
the
you go to
cinemas.
cinemas.
All right, that's it on this edition with this producer, actor, director, and a politician. It's been a big, huge, in-depth discussion with him today, and I do hope you learned a whole lot. For young people, do the right thing. You heard him. Start the right way. Surely you will end up right. Don't just look at the glamour. No. Work hard, remain focused, and surely you will get to the top. I'll see you next week. I'm Jane Maga. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.